The film opens with a baby sleeping soundly in its bed. The baby then wakes up and cries upon seeing a terrifying figure enter the room and attack. The scene then shifts to the home of a psychiatrist, Mr. Harper, who has two daughters who are emotionally vulnerable and grieving after their mother's recent passing. The high school girl is named Sadie, and her younger sister is named Sawyer. They haven't been to school for about a month due to their grief over their mother's death. After a month, today is their first day back to school. Upon arriving at school, Sadie finds a snack that her mother gave her a month ago before her mother had an accident and passed away. Some of her friends approach Sadie. Some genuinely want to check if Sadie is okay, but one of her friends is just making small talk and ends up causing a problem. Accidentally, the spoiled snack from her mother dirties Sadie's clothes. That day, a patient arrives at Mr. Harper's residence. Initially, Mr. Harper refuses the man because he had not made an appointment, but the man insists on speaking with Mr. Harper. This man is named Lester. Finally, Mr. Harper allows Lester to talk to him. Lester then asks Mr. Harper to close the closet door. Lester says that, one by one, his children died, and everyone suspected that he might be the culprit. It started with his baby daughter, who we saw in the film's opening scene. Lester's baby daughter was thought to have sudden infant death syndrome, a condition where an infant suddenly dies during sleep. After his baby died one by one, Lester's other children also died. Before passing away, Lester's eldest child had drawn a terrifying figure in their house. He said that if he had listened to what his child's fears and anxieties were at that time, maybe it wouldn't have happened. Mr. Harper noticed a small red stain on the edge of the paper Lester gave him. Mr. Harper excused himself to go to the bathroom for a moment. It turned out that in the kitchen, Mr. Harper called the police to come to his house immediately because he felt something was not right with Lester. Sadie decided to go home and wash the clothes that got dirty because of her friend at school. Then she heard a noise coming from her late mother's workspace. How messy the room was, with paint and several items as well as her mother's paintings on the floor. Hearing sounds like someone fighting inside her mother's wardrobe, Sadie opened the room and her father arrived. How shocked they were to see Lester hanging behind the door. Sawyer came home from school and was shocked to find the house filled with police. They had just been devastated by the sudden death of their mother. Now they were facing the death of a stranger in their home. Before bed, Sawyer asked her father to check her room from under the bed and inside the closet. Sawyer, who was very afraid of the dark, always slept with her light ball. That night, suddenly the closet door opened and surprised Sawyer. A creature entered under Sawyer's bed. To make sure there was nothing there, Sawyer threw her light ball under the bed and was startled by something until Sawyer fell off her bed. Sawyer went to Sadie's room and said there was something in her room. However, Sadie did not believe Sawyer's story, possibly because Sawyer's tooth, which was about to come out, hadn't fallen out yet. Sadie planned to tie a string to the tooth, and on the count of 3, she would close the door and Sawyer's tooth would surely come out. Before the count of 3, suddenly the door closed by itself, surprising both Sadie and Sawyer. Sawyer thought Sadie closed the door, but it turned out it wasn't Sadie. That night, Sawyer decided to sleep in Sadie's room, and the next morning Sawyer chose to go to the psychiatrist chosen by their father. Sawyer said there was a monster in her room. However, it seemed Sadie and the doctor suspected it was just Sawyer's imagination due to her fear of the dark. The doctor tried to give therapy to Sawyer, but it seemed to be in vain. The doctor informed their father that Sawyer felt she saw a monster in the house, but their father ignored what the doctor said. At night, when Sawyer was about to sleep, Sadie entered Sawyer's room and said goodnight to Sawyer. However, when Sawyer opened her blanket, Sadie was not in her room. So whose voice did she just hear? Sadie went to her father's workspace to find out about Lester, the man who died in their house. Sadie carefully listened to Lester's recording while talking to her father. Sadie found Lester's drawings under a chair. On the paper, it was a drawing by Lester's eldest child showing a monster. Sawyer came out of her room to find Sadie. She met her sister in the kitchen with the drawing. Sawyer was angry because she thought Sadie was trying to scare her. The next day, Sadie asked her friend to take her somewhere. It turned out Sadie went to Lester's late house. The house was very messy, and there were only candles lit upstairs. Even the walls in the house looked very strange. Then suddenly a woman appeared. It turned out that the woman was Lester's wife. Sadie asked about the monster drawing her husband had brought, but Lester's wife only asked Sadie to pray to God that she never sees that creature. The woman said that the creature attacks people who are in excessive fear and sorrow. It will attack those people until they die of fright. The creature likes darkness and dislikes light. She called it the boogeyman. It turned out there was a boogeyman right behind Sadie, and the woman aimed her gun at the creature, and Sadie hurriedly left the house. The next day, Sadie's friend gave her support to help Sadie out of her sadness. They planned to come to Sadie's house that night. They hoped for a party at Sadie's house, but it turned out they were just sitting in silence, and the atmosphere was very boring. Then one of Sadie's friends suggested looking at Sadie's mother's room. When they entered, suddenly Sadie's friend locked Sadie in the closet where Lester had hung himself. Sadie managed to get out of the closet. Sadie was angry with the friend who had pushed her into the closet, and the event eventually ended. Sadie's friends went home. Sawyer, who was alone playing a game, heard the creature approaching again. Sawyer, hiding on the sofa, was suddenly startled by the arrival of the boogeyman. The creature attacked Sawyer, throwing her to the floor. Their father arrived and rushed Sawyer to the hospital. Sawyer said that a monster had hurt her. At that moment, Lester's wife called Sadie, saying she had a way to get rid of the boogeyman. Sadie asked her father to keep an eye on her sister because there would be a monster attacking her. But her father didn't believe her. Sadie then hurried to meet Lester's wife. Upon arriving, it turned out Sadie was being used as bait for the boogeyman. When the boogeyman arrived, Lester's wife attacked the creature with all the weapons she had prepared. The creature seemed to be wounded and collapsed. However, when Lester's wife came to ensure the creature was dead, it got back up and attacked her. Sadie quickly fled from Lester's house and tried to contact her father. It turned out her father had returned home. Hearing that, Sadie asked her father to hurry out of the house and go to a place full of light. However, Sawyer and her father were dragged away by the boogeyman. When Sadie arrived at her house, it was very dark because the electricity had suddenly gone out. Sadie found her sister hiding with lights wrapped around her body. Sawyer knew the monster didn't like light. They both hurried to find their father. It turned out their father had been taken by the monster into the shed in their house. The creature kept attacking them and trying to drain Sadie's energy, making her increasingly powerless. Their father tried to attack the monster with his remaining strength. However, they had an idea. Sadie had a match, and Sawyer poured a bottle of oil on the monster, and the monster caught fire. They quickly left the house with their remaining strength. Their house was completely burned down. Now, they all went to see Dr. Weller together. Although Mr. Harper is a psychiatrist at this point, he also needed therapy for himself. But as they were about to leave, suddenly Sadie heard Dr. Weller calling her. Sadie went back inside and looked for Dr. Weller. A door opened and it was dark inside. But suddenly Dr. Weller came from behind Sadie, wondering why she had come back in. It turned out it wasn't Dr. Weller who was calling her, and the film ends. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, because by subscribing you have supported me to make better videos. See you in the next video.